I often get asked, with so many companies offering different internet packages, how do you tell them apart? Well, the most common advice I give is to look for a performance SLA. So to understand why SLAs matter, here are my top 5 things you really need to know. But before we start on the top 5, let me quickly explain what I mean by a performance SLA. It's a contractual commitment by your service provider to you, the customer, to provide a service that consistently meets technical parameters, i.e., to make sure you get what you're paying for. Armed with this information, you not only know your connection is going to meet your requirements and expectations, but you also know when you've got a technically better product. So, here are my top 5 things you need to know. Let's start with the big fact. Most broadband circuits do not come with a performance SLA. This is why it's okay for your broadband connection to fluctuate in performance. Most notably, your connection will slow down at peak times, but you may also notice the quality of the connection fluctuates. Poor quality is often worse than a slow connection, leading to poor voice or video calls, or buffering when you're streaming, or slow web page loads. A poor quality service may have fluctuating jitter, packet loss, and latency, all attributes that can be measured to determine quality, but rarely do you get any commitment from your supplier to keep these metrics within useful limits on a broadband circuit. Broadband services in general are just not designed to offer consistent quality. The second fact is good news. You can get a performance SLA on a fiber to the cabinet connection. If we look at how an FTTC broadband circuit is put together, you can see that you are connected to a local exchange and your connection is backhauled across various networks until it connects to the internet services. Broadband backhaul is by its nature designed to carry bulk, non-sensitive traffic such as residential web browsing and video streaming. To keep costs down, the capacity is shared, so when it gets busy, the network gets congested and your service degrades. But if we connect your same FTTC access circuit to a better quality backhaul service, you can now benefit from mechanisms such as quality of service, and your service provider can predict performance and therefore offer an SLA. This type of connection is called FTTC Ethernet. It's priced slightly higher than your typical broadband, but you get much better quality and an SLA-backed service. Fact 3. Dedicated fiber Ethernet or lease lines have long been known to offer the best SLAs, but not all fiber Ethernet circuits offer the same level of performance. Take two wholesale examples, standard and premium. Both are rated at 100 megabits per second, but while the premium circuit has an SLA for the entire 100 meg, the standard circuit only protects 20% of the data. So if you pass more than 20 megabits per second of traffic, any of your traffic may get dropped or delayed. That's just not good if you run VoIP services or other sensitive applications that need consistently high performance. And while we're talking about consistency, consistency is key. Many applications, and let's take voice over IP as an example, use very little bandwidth, but consistent performance is essential. For example, if you get a spike in packet loss or latency increases for a short period, this will have a noticeable impact on your call. This brings us on to point 5. SLAs are a commitment by the service provider to meet a measured obligation, but of course there are many ways to measure. By way of an example, this graph shows latency over a connection. Remember, low latency is what we're aiming for. As you can see, everything is running fine with latency well below target, and then there's an issue. If your performance SLA defines a maximum latency target, then this issue would clearly breach that SLA, and your provider has to address the problem and potentially pay you service credits. If, however, your latency SLA is based on an average latency, this issue would not cause an SLA breach as the average is below the target. So in these two cases, the service that offers the maximum latency target has to perform more consistently than the service that uses an average. It has to be technically more stable, technically better. Performance SLAs do of course vary for each type of connection and between providers, which is why they will give you a very good insight into exactly what you're going to get for your money. If a connection doesn't come with a performance SLA, it is likely that there'll be some fluctuation in performance. And lastly, don't forget about support SLAs, how quickly your provider will resolve a problem. That's the second thing to look for. If you'd like to know more, check out our other videos or our website.